with that big client.
Buy airtime ahead of time with scheduled airtime service on MTN Momo. You can schedule your airtime purchase of any amount daily, weekly, or monthly by dialing *170# option 3 and follow the process. Or simply dial *170*311# for a superb airtime purchase experience. You enjoy 100% bonus airtime anytime you recharge yourself with MTN Momo. Keep on talking with that 100% feeling. So, what are we doing today?
MTN.
Hello, good afternoon. This is the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 in Accra, Love 99.5 in Kumasi, affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Ganga FM, Jirapa, Flow FM Aflao, Jubilee FM and Sun City Radio Keta, ATL FM Cape Coast, Radio Max Takoradi, and Pad FM Damongo. We're live on Facebook live stream and My Joy online interactive app. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol, always a delightful experience. And also Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. In this bulletin, concerns over stability of power supply beyond today, despite Ghana Gas completing its maintenance work, which saw implementation of a load shedding timetable in the last 6 days. We'll tell you more. Also, Electricity Company of Ghana disconnects power supply to residents of Amansia South District Chief Executive as it vows to show no mercy in its revenue mobilization drive.
Friendship grows when the right things are done. We are terminating the service, the illegality. Every energy he has used over the period that he has used it will recover.
Uncertainty surrounding how soon Ghana will seal an IMF deal as a World Bank report reveals the nation is yet to make progress on the common framework debt treatment. We have details as the IMF chief says she's asked China to speed up its debt restructuring talks with Ghana. And as Christians mark the death of Christ this Easter, we take you to Garden of Gethsemane in Israel, where Jesus spent the night praying with his disciples prior to his arrest and crucifixion.
Gethsemane was the last place Jesus spent the night praying to God, saying, quote, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me."
We'll also hear from Royal House Chapel founder Apostle General Sam Kranchi Ankara urging forgiveness this season.
Forgive someone who has hurt you. Easter is about showing mercy. Show mercy to somebody. Easter is about kindness. Look for somebody who is in need and show the person kindness.
Much later in the bulletin, the secret behind how a medical student swept 16 out of the 22 awards up for grabs at the recent University of Cape Coast graduation ceremony.
He did everything differently. He was not the type who would accept poor performance. But I would say what helped me to go through it, first of all, I need to acknowledge the grace of God, because you can't go through a system like this without the grace of God. Secondly, support from my parents, my dad and mom especially.
There's and more stories coming up in this 30-minute bulletin. I am Maame Esi Thompson. And this afternoon, there are concerns over stability of power supply beyond today, despite Ghana National Gas Company Limited completing its maintenance works part of the country, having the last 6 days been on a load shedding timetable as a result of the ongoing works. The Electricity Company of Ghana, the company, indicated that scattered outages will end today. Ghana Gas says it has completed the exercise but is yet to operate it at its full capacity. We'll be going to the Ghana Gas Company shortly, but first, my colleague Joseph Akable is with our energy desk. He joins me with details on checks with other power sector players. Joseph, first, we understand there are some issues with gas supply from Nigeria.
Yes, there has been a challenge with the gas to be received from Nigeria. This has resulted in the loss of about 200 megawatts. As to what was supposed to come in yesterday, didn't come. So this is not something that is within the control of the utilities companies in Ghana. What this means is that there's a shortfall in available power. So peak hours, we are looking at some 400 megawatts and more than 200 within the off-peak period. And this is not just due to Nigeria. There's also the bit about not having adequate fuel to power other available plants as well. On the Ghana gas update, we know that they've completed works and they've started supplying the gas, but we understand that it is not operating at full capacity yet.
Right, thank you so much, Joseph. Now, the Electricity Company of Ghana has disconnected power supply to residents of Amasia South District. Chief Executive, Ashanti Regional Director of ECG, David Bwedi Asamoah, led the Revenue Protection Task Force of the company to disconnect power at the official residence of his friend, the District Chief Executive. Now, the task force also took away electrical cables used for the illegal service connection. There's more on the following report by Ohiming Terrier.
The District Assembly Office complex was the first to escape disconnection after 19,000 Ghana cedis unpaid electricity bills were settled instantly. The District's education and immigration offices, however, had their power supply cut by the task force. Some residential facilities, including the District Assembly bungalows, also suffered disconnection for non-payment of bills. The official residence of the DCE for the area, Clement Opoku, was next to suffer power cut. Ashanti Regional Director of ECG, Engineer David Bwedi Asamoah, tells Joy News power supply to the DC's apartment was illegal.
This service serves the DCE for Amasia South. The service connection to the house is unauthorized. It doesn't go through any ECG document, so we term it as illegal extension. Now that we have identified it, we are removing the wires. Every energy he has used over the period that he has used it will recover.
Engineer Bwedi Asamoah described the GCE as his friend, but explained his stance of professionalism over friendship.
But this is my good friend. He calls me, he comes to my office, we chat. But this is purely a professional work that we are doing.
How do you feel to do this to your friend, a man that you say he's your friend? Now, from today onwards, he's going to sleep in darkness.
As a professional, you need to distinguish friendship from professionalism. We are friends, so I don't think that this will mar our friendship.
Now to the economy. The World Bank says Ghana is yet to make progress with the G20 Common Framework debt treatment with its bilateral creditors. This is according to the Global Financial Institution's April 2023 Africa Pulse report. The situation is contrary to government sources indicating that it had reached an agreement with its bilateral creditors, particularly the Paris Club, to pave way for an International Monetary Fund support program. There's more in the following report.
The report notes that Ghana requested a common framework debt treatment in early 2023, but progress has not been made. It further notes the nation has conducted a voluntary domestic debt exchange program. Other countries engaged with private creditors and bilateral donors engaged in external restructuring efforts through bilateral engagement. Yet these efforts cannot replace a comprehensive and well-coordinated solution for countries in debt distress. It also states that debt levels and vulnerabilities which remain high could worsen, especially for countries that have lost access to credit market and are in or at risk of debt distress. There is some good news from the IMF nonetheless. Its chief, Kristalina Georgieva, said she told China's new top economic official Li Qiang they must accelerate work to reach debt restructuring arrangements for countries like Zambia, Ghana, and Ethiopia. Georgieva, who met with Li and other top Chinese officials during a visit to China last month, said on Thursday she found Li very approachable and pragmatic. She said he assured her that he wants China to play a constructive role in resolving debt relief cases.
And that was a News Desk report. Now, research and advocacy group Third World Network Africa is meanwhile urging government to diversify its export portfolio. Thus, it believes will enable the country to avoid falling into economic crisis like it is currently experiencing. Dr. Yal Graham is coordinator.
You'd find that cocoa, gold, and oil make up more than 80% of our exports. and international trade makes up more than 40% of the country's GDP. When you have that size of international trade in your economy, it makes you vulnerable to the volatilities and vicissitudes of the international economy. And it's this same commodity boom which was the context for Ghana beginning Eurobond borrowing. The crisis of our international finance at the moment is not a single regime problem, it's a cumulative problem. This is the deepest crisis we're having since 1975-83.
And that was Dr. Yao Graham of the Third World Network Africa Research Group Advocacy Group. Now let's do some politics. Actor John Dumelo will be the only aspirant to face the Greater Accra Regional NDC vetting committee despite petitions slapped on the process by two other contestants, Frederick Nyama and Moses Befi Echampo. The three were supposed to be vetted on Monday but was rescheduled to Tuesday and again postponed indefinitely. But NDC Greater Accra Secretary Theophilus Tetechai confirmed to Joy News that the green light has been given by the national leadership to go ahead and vet Mr. Dumelo because he has no issues with his filing. However, it is yet to be known when the exercise will be done. Listen to Tetechai on Top Story yesterday.
A petition was raised with the Conflict Resolution Committee. So the party directed that issue needs to be looked at before we can continue the process. As we talk to you now, direction has been given that we go ahead and vet one of the candidates whilst the other issues are being resolved. So as a body, we are obliged to do that. We have to fix a date and then invite the candidate in question, Don Dumelo. Well, he has no issues in terms of his filing. He has gone through the process and the system has no challenge with his filing. So once the directive is coming from them, we as a body need to adhere to that directive. And I believe that, like I've told you, they've given us the green light to go ahead and vet Don Dumelo, whilst the other issues are being looked at by the Conflict Resolution Committee. Once that is done, the rest will be referred to us.
Meanwhile, National Deputy General Secretary Mustafa Bande has dismissed claims that the party is seeking to give undue advantage to John Dumelo over the two other aspirants. According to him, after everything, the party is sure to come up with solutions to the problem.
I can assure you that throughout this process, the national chairman of our party, who is a leader, the general secretary of our party, have all demonstrated neutrality, have cautioned all members of FEC to ensure that we do not get ourselves involved in anything that will prevent us from being part of any reconciliation exercise. So clearly, National Executive Committee or the party at any level is not doing anything to impose a candidate on a constituency, and that will not be allowed to stand if even there's that case at any part of the country. In the case of John Dumelo and the Ayawaso West Wagon, plus the other contestant, I think it is within the right of the vetting committee to decide if there are some issues they believe that cannot be resolved, and they will refer same to the National Executive Committee.
Mr. Bande also indicates that those who were disqualified will be communicated to on the reasons after a report on the vetting process is completed.
We review all of the reports from the competent teams and officers deployed throughout the country to conduct this vetting. We would analyze them and come out with a finality to all of the issues that we are talking about. So no one would like to impose a candidate on a particular constituency. The National Executive Committee will not do such a thing.
And away from politics, some news coming in now. The Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, has arrested some persons for using counterfeit license and roadworthy certificates. My colleague Joseph Akable joins me with details. Joseph, what more do we know?
So the statement issued by the DVLA, it's titled, DVLN Police Arrest Suspects for Counterfeit Driver's License and Roadworthy Certificates. Personnel from the Underground Squad of the National Operations Unit of the Ghana Police Service in collaboration with the DVLA have conducted a successful joint operation resulting in the arrest of a 40-year-old man, Philip Oting Owusu-Ansah. The suspect is alleged to have been involved in the production of counterfeit driver's license, roadworthy certificates and other related services from his residence. Upon conducting an immediate search of his residence, law enforcement officials found one Eminence card printing machine, a hard drive, 2 pen drives, a card reader, an Apple MacBook laptop, HP monitor, 155 blank cards, and 4 sets of ribbons. It goes on to say that Mr. Ansah is currently assisting the police with their investigation. The DVLA would like to caution the general public to be wary of individuals who claim to offer assistance in processing vehicle documents and driver's license. Instead, they should ensure that they only deal with the certified DVLA officials at designated offices for such services.
Thank you, Joseph. You're still listening to the Midday News here, Joy 99.7 FM. You've been hearing concerns over stability of power supply beyond today, despite Ghana Gas Company completing its maintenance work, which saw completion or implementation of a load shedding timetable in the last 6 days. We'll be right back with more on Easter stories.
Imagine say water wake up at dawn, bath, chop, where it vanish for your area for 2 weeks. You not get one drop safe inside your tank.
Hey.
Haja, our life was in dangerous. Only our neighbor get water with water tank.
Water tank?
Yes, water tank. Mamma mia, that water tank get meter for checking water level. That water tank be fine past Kumasi Selendion. That water tank be tough like Ghana Army. That water tank, they carry water pepe, so say some no go left inside the supply tank. What a tank! As my boss, Mr. Poncho, go talk.
Beautiful, durable, with water level indicator and accurate volume of water. Water tank. What a tank! By Duraplast.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, prayer is the Christian's key mode of communion with God. And depending on the pressing nature of need, the place to pray is critical. This was demonstrated by Jesus Christ when he spent the eve of his crucifixion with his disciples at Gethsemane to engage God on the task in wait for him. Well, as Christians mark the death of Christ, my colleague Emefa Tiamo Eli walks us through some of these critical praying sites, including the Western Wall and the Pool of Bethesda, where the blind man received his healing after sitting by it for 38 years. Details in a series from the Holy Land.
In present-day Israel, Gethsemane is located within a valley between the Mount of Olives, where Jesus ascended into heaven, and the wall demarcating the old Jerusalem from the new. Gethsemane was the last place Jesus spent the night praying to God, saying, quote, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." Unquote. It's also the place the soldiers, with the support of Judas Iscariot, found and arrested him for crucifixion. It's currently a relatively small garden of about 13,000 square feet. It sits right at the foot of the Mount of Olives. Gethsemane hosts a couple of the oldest olive trees believed to have been planted from the original ones found here at the time Jesus and his disciples visited the garden to pray. It's among the highly patronized tourist sites in Jerusalem.
And back to Accra. Meanwhile, founder of Royal House Chapel International, Apostle General Sam Korenche Ankara, is urging all to forgive this season as Christ forgave the church.
And in our Lord's Prayer, it says, "Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those that trespass against us." See, Easter is about forgiveness. Forgive someone who has hurt you. Easter is about showing mercy. Show mercy to somebody. Easter is about kindness. Look for somebody who is in need and show the person kindness. Give the person a plate of food to eat and a cup of drink to drink. Easter is about loving someone and loving somebody at a distance and at far. Your neighbor. I pray that this Easter, Christ-likeness and godliness will come up again and set a standard for you and I. Let's forgive one another and let's live peaceably with one another. God bless you. Happy Easter. Enjoy the season.
And that was founder of Royal House Chapel International, Apostle General Sam Kranche Ankara. And on Monday, the Joy FM Easter Soup Kitchen will come off at the Wager Leprosarium, where we spend time with the inmates there. Programs manager here at Joy FM, Adam Naite, joins us for more on this. Adam, if you can hear me, what's the plan for Monday?
Hi, Maame Esi, I can hear you. Happy Easter. How are you?
I'm great, Adam. How are you too?
I am doing well, thank you. Well, Monday is our Joy FM Easter Soup Kitchen. You know, it's Easter time to forgive, time to share, time to show love. And every Easter Joy FM does that. Remember last year, we came together, you were there, we cooked, and we, served it to the underprivileged in our environs, Malata, Newtown, and all that. This year, we're doing it in a different way. We're going to the Wager Leprosarium to go and, for lack of a better word, fellowship with the residents over there. Father Campbell himself will be there. The whole Joy team will be there. This time around, we don't want any issues, so we're not cooking the meals. Lunch Avenue is helping us cook the meals. Pakoko Market is, giving us the boxes of water. We're going there, serve them food, beverages, water, party with them. We'll be coming to you live on Monday from Wager Leprosarium, and it's going to be a very good time with the residents there.
Thank you so much, Adam. We're grateful. And make sure to be there and to also have time with these people. Now, drivers and passengers at the State Transport Corporation were pleasantly surprised when the Inspector General of Police appeared at the station without warning to interact with them. The Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, flanked by some Police Management Board members, visited the STC stations, interacting with drivers mostly on their security and safety in this season. Here accepts.
Passengers for now, Omuba, Naibia, Omakechi. Ebi omu piempia matiko se mun confide members so no eni omudin komoyi and police TV so any media bebre so
we advise passengers not to force drivers to overspeed because we only have one life. It is important to return home safely.
And you heard Inspector General of Police Dr. George Akufo-Dampare interacting with drivers at the STC station. Meanwhile, Secretary for the Neoplan Drivers and Union, Kofi T, raised concerns about deplorable roads and a hope for government to fix them.
For the roads are so small for the population that we have now, and that's caused too many accidents, too many problems. We have been talking about it for the longest, but still nothing has been done. And I think if they're thinking about safety, then they should think about the roads, because if the roads are not good, then there won't be any safety.
We'll stay a while longer on road safety issues. Pedestrians are alarmed by the increasing disregard for road safety regulations by drivers on the Awoshia-Blekuma Highway, which they say has resulted in fatal accidents on that stretch. According to them, even at zebra crossings where drivers are supposed to reduce speed for passengers to cross have not been adhered to, thereby exposing them to danger. They are therefore calling on authorities to ensure that drivers comply with the safety regulations to prevent accidents. They spoke to my colleague Samuel Imbora.
Last week,
even last week, 2 boys sustained injuries from a motor crash. Our major problem is these drivers don't respect the pedestrian signals. They drive at top speed. We want authorities to act on the situation because we are living in danger.
Drivers don't normally stop unless, let's say, the road is free for us to pass. But if they see us here, they just go. They don't stop, and that is the problem.
There have been frequent accidents on this stretch of the road because the drivers do not obey the pedestrian signals. Instead of them to slow down for us to pass, they drive at high speed. I lost my sister in an accident on this road last year.
The drivers, they knock children as if they don't know the regulation.
The drivers don't respect pedestrians. We have to run to be able to cross the road. Just last week, a woman was killed by a speeding driver.
In a related development, the police has rounded up 25 drivers for traffic-related offences. The drivers who were arrested in an operation to ensure safety on the road in the Easter festivities are still in custody and awaiting prosecution. Acting Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, Engineer David Adonting, has therefore warned road users to stay away from misbehaving.
We got about 25 people, some drunk driving, some were also doing wrongful overtaking. There were others that were also speeding beyond limits, and we have rounded all of them up. They'll go to court from tomorrow, and now at the moment we have caged them somewhere. They are not with us. So if you want to celebrate the Easter with your family, then stay away from these misbehaviors on the road so that you don't become one of the victims we have picked currently going to go to court from next week. I want to advise everybody, please, let us all go in peace and come back in peace.
Safe driving saves lives. Drive safe.
Meanwhile, President of the Trinity Theological Seminary at Legon, Reverend Professor Kwabna Samuajedu, is advising the public to be mindful about the moral choices that will be made within the Easter festivities.
The moral choices we make, we must make them very, very carefully. Because if you resort to drinking and drug abuse and sexually immoral activities, you may think that it is just for the week, but you never know what consequences this will have in the future. There are many, many young women who, as a result of promiscuity in sexual activity, get pregnant at this time, and their whole educational career has come crashing to the ground. So have pleasure, because pleasure itself is not sinful. It's when you make morally negative choice that we warn against, and we hope that people will be sensible in the choices they make.
And now, Dr. Nathaniel Kudjo made the news last week during the recent University of Cape Coast graduation ceremony when he swept 16 out of the 22 awards up for grabs. Dr. Kudjo and his father have been speaking to Bernice Abubedu-Lanza on the AM show.
Best student, best graduating male student, best graduating clinical student, best graduating preclinical student, ENT, pharmacology, molecular medicine, and family medicine. Wow. And I see that smile, because that's the same smile you wore when the awards were being... Were you expecting to receive that number of awards?
Honestly, I must say I wasn't expecting to receive that number of awards.
Let me also introduce Emmanuel Akushe Kudjo. He is father of Dr. Nathaniel Kudjo. And Dad, we saw Mom, but where were you and what were you thinking when all those awards were being mentioned and your son's name was attached to all of them?
Well, I felt big, I felt great. I was there. I was at the back, and I was
cheering him. Right. But had you always known that your son was this exceptional?
Yes, he's always been.
And so how did you notice that in his early years, and what prompted you into thinking, no, this boy, there's something special about him?
Well, he did everything differently, and he was not the type who would accept poor performance.
I have friends who are medical students and relatives as well, and sometimes they come home looking like they've been beaten by the rain. What was it like for you in medical school?
Yes, so I think generally medical school system, the level of stress there, it cuts across every medical school. It's something that's how the system has been designed to be, because when you come out, you're going to take care of human beings, and any mistake you do can cost someone their life. So that's how the system has been designed to be. So yes, it was really stressful for me as well, going through the modules, and specifically for our system, the way our system is organized, we do a modular system and we write exams almost every 2 to 3 weeks. So that's even an added stress. But I would say what helped me to go through it, first of all, I need to acknowledge the grace of God, because you can't go through a system like this without the grace of God. Secondly, support from my parents, my dad and mom especially, both financial and emotional support, my siblings. Then my lecturers as well, who, if it weren't for them, and they trained me to be here. Yeah, I'm a doctor because I was trained by my senior colleagues. So,
and so what's the future like for you?
At the moment, I'm considering neurology for now. Hopefully by the time I complete my housemanship, things will be much clearer. Yeah, but for now, I'm considering neurology. And I'm doing that because I have the passion to contribute to stroke management in the country, because I believe that there's a lot that can still be done with respect to stroke management.
Congratulations to him and all the best on his medical journey. And that's how we end the midday news here on Joy 99.7. You've been hearing concerns over stability of power supply beyond today, despite Ghana Gas completing its maintenance work. Also, uncertainty surrounding how soon Ghana will seal an IMF deal, as the World Bank reports reveals the nation is yet to make progress on the common framework debt treatment. I am Maame Esi Thompson. Up next is Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil on the message Crucified, Dead and Buried.
If home is where the heart is, then let's go home, shall we? Let's go where the entertainment is, where the passion is, where the love time